tribute to the Kings is over, okay? And it was on Saturday. And overall, I think it was a very entertaining event. Before I get to the event itself, I want to make a couple of corrections that I didn't make in the last video. So the first one was that the main event was Cesar Chavez Sr. versus Camacho Jr. And the second thing was it was on Fight TV, not DAZN. So if you guys went to DAZN and couldn't find it, I sincerely apologize. The reason why I thought it was DAZN was because DAZN was the website that was telling you where the fight is going to be held or streamed or what channel it might be, all those sorts of things. So I apologize for that. But I'm gonna get to the fight real quick. I'm gonna start with Anderson Silva versus Chavez Jr. Anderson Silva, Nate, defeated Chavez Jr. by decision. That was a shock right there, Nate. All right. So I'm gonna go to the stats real quick. So Chavez, he landed 53 out of 153. That is a percentage of 34.6%. And Anderson Silva landed 99 out of 392, which was a percentage of 25.3%. So overall, Nate, when I saw this fight, I was really impressed with Anderson Silva. I was really impressed with Anderson Silva. And the reason why was because you see these boxers and they come in, and not that they don't like produce anything, or these UFC fighters or MMA fighters, they come in. But the one thing that you don't notice that you notice is like at first they don't even have a boxing stance. They do not look like real boxers when they step into that ring. Anderson Silva looked like a real boxer when he stepped into that ring. All right, he had a good boxing stance. He was able to put his punches together. He was a good counter puncher. Not only that, he was the aggressor. So I think personally, even though the stats don't show it, Anderson Silva was definitely the aggressor. I think that's what got him the win. Chavez Jr., I just didn't think he was aggressive enough. That was one thing. Not only that, but he was running into a lot of Anderson Silva's punches. So when you really look at it, Nate, I had to again. I think the judges got it right. I did think Anderson Silva won that fight, and he did an amazing job. He did a great job. He really did. And they had an entertaining fight. It was a very entertaining fight. But at the end of the day, Anderson Silva got the win. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought it was going to be Chavez Jr. by knockout, but I was wrong about that. But Anderson Silva really did fight good. He did show like, hey, look, I could have a future in this thing. Now I'm not saying Anderson Silva could be a world champion, because if you're gonna fight at this weight, like the 100, I don't know exactly what weight they were, 182, I think he was, and actually Chavez Jr. He was overweight, so he ended up losing a little bit of his purse to that. So not a good 2 days for Chavez Jr. But regardless, Anderson Silva, though, he really did. He fought good, Nate. He fought good. I'm not saying he's going to become a world champion because obviously he's a lot older now, and there's a lot of and the new age is coming out, and these guys are really fresh. But I think Anderson Silva could have a few more boxing fights under his record and do a decent job. I mean, if you look at it, he's beaten a former champion. Anderson Silva has defeated a former boxing champion. So I would like to see him back in the ring again. One fight that I really wanted to see that the guy I'm about to mention talked about it a lot. I wanted to see Roy Jones Jr. versus Anderson Silva. Now, obviously, I'm thinking about it like if that ever happened right now, I think Anderson Silva probably wins it. But that's a fight I would be willing to watch right there. But overall, if Anderson Silva wants to pursue a little bit of a career or have one last run in boxing, then so be it. I mean, I'm all for it. He's not signed with the UFC no more. He was released by them. So, I mean, what better way to do it? His last previous fights in MMA, I talked about this last video, they were not that great. So, what better way than to transition to the sport of boxing? He did a good job. He really did, Nate. He did a very, very good job. He did a better job than what I thought he was going to do. And he ended up getting the win. So, with that being said, congratulations to Anderson Silva. As for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., I don't know what's next for him. Again, I'm going to say probably back to the drawing board if he continues. If not, then I wish him the best of luck. But overall, Nate, if you look at the actual fight, it was a very, very good fight.
Yeah, it was, despite some punches being thrown in the air. Like I was watching the highlights and I wasn't able to watch the fight, so I watched the highlights and there were a lot of punches, like air punches, man. Like I don't know, but hey man, I'll cut him some slack because other than that, Mario, it was a pretty good fight, and I gotta give Anderson Silva a lot of credit. We didn't expect him to win. Both of us had Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. winning this fight, and you mentioned that he was overweight in this fight. Was it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, not by a lot, but he missed weight. And
Yeah,
when you miss weight, you end up losing like a purse. Like you end up
yeah,
losing part of your purse.
I do find that pretty interesting, but I got to give Anderson Silva a lot of credit. You jump in the boxing ring for the first time. I think we mentioned it was like 20 something years because he boxed before, right? Or something like
16 years. Yeah, last time he
16
fought
years.
before
Yeah,
this, 2005.
yeah. So it's been a long time. I got to give him a lot of credit. He jumped in there with a former world champion. He beats us decision. Overall, Maya was a great fight. Anderson Silva was very, very aggressive, and that's what he needed to do. He needed to be aggressive enough to get him to submit. Well, he didn't make him submit or knock out, but he did get him tired enough to the point where he was able to take advantage, and that's exactly what he did. Did what he had to do to win, and he did a really good job. Now, going to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he did a good job hanging in there. He did what he had to do. I mean, even though he lost, there's nothing to shy down upon. But I look at both fighters, and honestly, I don't know what's next for them. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., I'm not so sure what he's going to do moving forward. So whatever he decides to do, I do wish him the best of luck. As for Anderson Silva, same deal. I don't know what he's going to do now. But again, whatever he decides to do, I do wish him the best of luck as well. And we'll just see what happens with both fighters, Mario.
The main event, Nate, Chavez Sr., the legend, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. versus Hector Camacho Jr. Look, this fight, man, this one was definitely the big one. The reason why I say this is because, again, it's called Tribute to the Kings. And one of the guys, and that fight was a tribute to the original Camacho, Hector Camacho. And he was a great fighter. He really was, man. Like, he had some very good fights back in his day. And unfortunately, he's not with us no more. May he rest in peace. But this was a tribute to him. And obviously, one of them is the son, but the other one, fought him. And not only that, he was very good friends with him too outside the ring. So this was a tribute to him. But overall, Nate, let me tell you something about this fight. Chavez Sr. is a damn psycho. This dude is a psycho, man. And it's in a good way. It's not a bad way. This guy within like the third or fourth round decided screw the headgear. Let me go take it off at age like 58. I was like, dude. I was like, what do you do with that?
You don't give
But
a damn, bro. You
everybody
don't.
like everybody was like yelling like put it back on. So he ended up putting it back on. I think my favorite part of that fight was when he brought Canelo Alvarez to his corner. he just brought like Canelo Alvarez right to the ring, and Canelo Alvarez, that is Canelo Alvarez's idol, so I can understand it too. And I mean, look, overall, Nate, the fight was entertaining. It was exciting, and I got to see a little bit of flashes from Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. He wasn't as fast, he wasn't as strong, but he still knew how to put those punches together. And it looked like Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. I got to give him a lot of credit. He did good out there, Nate. Same thing with Camacho Jr. Camacho Jr. He held his own. He had his highlights in there. Personally, if I were to give this a decision, I'm giving it to Chavez Sr. And again, that was another fight that, again, if that would have happened, I would have got it wrong because I decided to pick Camacho Jr. for that fight. But Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. did a very, very good job, and I think the fight was great, Nate. I do. I think this was a very entertaining event. Um, and look, I gotta give Chavez Sr. a lot of credit, man. I do. He took some punches in that ring, and not only that, age 58 years old to get back into that ring and fight. Again, I gotta give him a lot of credit right there. Salute to him. Same thing with Camacho Jr. Camacho Jr. isn't a young chicken either. So when you really look at it, I gotta give him a lot of credit as well. But that overall, that was a very entertaining event. There were punches being thrown at the end of the round. There were trash talking going on. But I'm like, you know what? I don't expect nothing less from Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. That man is an entertainer. He's gonna do what he can to entertain the fans. It's as simple as that. And obviously, after this, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. has nothing to prove. He already has a legendary boxing record. I mean, again, 107 wins. He had like a good 80 plus wins in a row without a loss. I mean, he's beaten some of the best fighters you can think of from when you really think about it. I'm trying to think. He's defeated Hector Camacho. He's defeated Roger Mayweather. Um, there's so many of them. Angel Hernandez. He's defeated so many fighters that if I were to go down that list, we'd be here forever because there's 107 fights. But overall, I do think the event was very entertaining, and I think Camacho Sr. is looking down at them and is pretty proud. So with that being said, congratulations to all the fighters that tribute to the Kings.
Yeah, absolutely. I looked at the last fight, and yeah, man, he took off the headgear. He was like, "Screw it, man, let's go." But look, I gotta give him a lot of credit. He's nearing 60 years old and he's still fighting in the ring. I gotta give him a lot of credit for that. Getting back in the ring at 58 years old, and he was throwing some really good punches, Mario. He still got it at his age. it really goes to show you that no matter how old you get, if you learn something, you're gonna remember it for the rest of your life. No matter how washed up you gonna be. You know what I mean? Like that. That's just the rhythm nowadays. At the older you get, the more washed up you become. That's not always true. That those lessons stay with you for the rest of your life. Despite how old you get. But yeah, I gotta give both fighters a lot of credit. It was a really entertaining fight. Obviously, it wasn't as entertaining as like say a couple of younger fighters, but for their ages, they were doing a really good job, and I gotta give them a lot of credit. Longevity is the key, is what we always say. So congratulations to both fighters, and congratulations to everybody that fought that night. Um, yeah, I do wish all the fighters the best of luck. Overall, Mar, I didn't. I overall, from what I've seen, I did enjoy the fight. I enjoyed everything that I've seen. So I do wish all the fighters that fought that night the best of luck, and we'll see what happens.